increasingly tightening its control over social media. In the past, the government has had similar run-ins with WhatsApp as well as Facebook, but this time around, Twitter, earning the government's ire for a manipulated media tag over a ruling party leader's tweet that it's refused to take down. In the last 1 year, we've seen similar confrontations between Twitter as well as the government when the Modi government asked the platform to take down several tweets about the farmers' protest, as well as tweets criticizing the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Twitter complied on some instances but didn't on the others, because increasingly how social media companies deal with these requests is putting the spotlight on issues of freedom of expression. This time around, Twitter categorically taking a very strident position, saying it's worried about, the shrinking space for freedom of expression in India, and it's worried about the safety of its employees here in the country. Because in the past, the government has written to firms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter, warning them that whenever there is non-compliance with a request that seeks the removal of any objectionable material on their platforms, their local employees can face arrest.
And Neha, at the same time, Twitter is also struggling to comply with India's new IT rules.
Absolutely, and it's not just Twitter, it's all social media giants who fail to comply with a new set of rules that essentially require them to appoint officers who will work with the government to monitor content posted online and take down any content the government deems as inappropriate. What we've seen essentially is that many organizations, including Twitter, have said that this is a huge problem, and the Indian government, though, maintains this is an attempt to ensure that they can regulate and hold these platforms accountable for the kind of information that goes up there. But in case these companies fail to comply, they become criminally liable for any information that's posted on their platforms. We've seen WhatsApp already has sued the Indian government, saying these laws will essentially mean that the privacy protections embedded in its platform will be breached. Twitter also putting out a statement today saying that it feels that this is a dangerous overreach, and I'm quoting now, and it's inconsistent with open democratic principles, and it's concerned about the proactive monitoring and the blanket authority to seek information about its customers. Now, Twitter has sought a 3-month extension to comply with these regulations, but the Indian government says all social media platforms have just 15 days.
Well, thanks for getting us up to speed with that. Neha Punya speaking to us from New Delhi.
Hong Kong's legislature has approved the biggest overhaul of its political system since the territory's handover from British rule. The changes will reduce the proportion of directly elected seats from half to less than a quarter. The new body will also be given powers to vet candidates. They'll work with national security authorities to ensure that those standing are loyal to Beijing. China ordered sweeping changes to Hong Kong's electoral system in March. It says that the changes are meant to return stability to the city after massive anti-government protests. At the same time, Hong Kong police have banned a Tiananmen vigil planned for next month. It's the second year in a row that permission for the event has been refused. Authorities say anyone who participates will be violating the national security law.
Australia's second most populous state is heading for a week-long snap lockdown starting at midnight tonight. Authorities in the state of Victoria are racing to contain a growing COVID-19 outbreak in Melbourne. All cases in the latest cluster involve the highly infectious coronavirus variant first discovered in India. This will be the 4th time Melbourne goes into lockdown. Nearly 7 million people will have to stay home, and most businesses will have to shut. There are concerns this new outbreak could spiral out of control in just 4 days. The cluster has grown to 26 cases. Authorities have identified more than 150 sites where people may have been exposed to the virus. More than 10,000 close contacts have been ordered to get tested and self-isolate.
The next 7 days in Victoria will be very challenging. And of course, we are very mindful of the distress and the difficulty that this will impose upon people right across Victoria as a result of what is being described, rightly I think, by the acting Premier as a circuit-breaking lockdown. And a lockdown for 7 days that hopefully won't go as long as that.
Taiwan is facing pressure to test COVID-19 patients faster as it deals with its largest wave of infections. The island has reported around 670 new community cases. More than a third are from a backlog of test results. Authorities are struggling to clear the backlog accumulated over the past week. The delay is caused by limited manpower and testing equipment. Taiwan has been relying on PCR tests to diagnose patients, but authorities say that it is too slow as the number of cases rise.
我们不能再用 PCR 来当做 gold standard. We use a new standard. We need a new standard. It's PCR. Yeah, it's rapid antigen test. Because of time delay, 2 to 3 days. This is how to say it's intolerable in the present situation.
Taiwan is battling its largest outbreak since the pandemic began. Some say that the island is a victim of its own success.
When you are very successful, you are not forced to improve. Only when you fail, then you are forced to improve. 我们过去1年太成功了。
Still to come, a new vaccination option for COVID-19 as a French drug maker and its British partner join the fight. And India trying to keep COVID-19 under control while dealing with the aftermath of Cyclone Yas.
For exquisite living on the fringe of the city, Singapore Property Show presents coveted developments in the rest of Central Region. Exclusive addresses with amenities well within reach, yet away from the hustle and bustle of the city centre. Experience stunning 4D virtual tours of these properties and get expert advice on property investments at our webinars. It's all happening at sps2021.99.co. Register now. The Singapore Property Show 2021 is proudly organised by MediaCorp and our esteemed partners.
It's a human catastrophe of epic proportions. Thousands are dying every day in India as it battles the raging coronavirus crisis.
हमारे सामने उन्होंने दम तोड़ा, हम कुछ नहीं कर पाए। मेरी वाइफ चली गई, मेरे दोनों ब्रदर इन लॉ गए और मदर इन लॉ एक्सपायर्ड हो गई।
Has India lost control of the pandemic?
If you step out right now, you step out to die.
India's COVID catastrophe. Insight tonight on CNA.
He's just looking at us with his eyes wide open. Oh, it's so cute.
I'm Shushan, and in this series, I'll be tracking into hidden parts of Singapore.
Oh my God, treacherous.
To find out what's being done to save our biodiversity.
Every animal plays a significant role.
And if we're running out of time.
It seems that there is an uptrend in number of roadkills.
It's in our nature. Video on demand on CNA.Asia.
This Saturday, could rising inflation derail the post-pandemic economic recovery?
Those parts of the market that are more overvalued could easily get hit.
Relooking China's growth model as its population ages.
Chinese babies are not growing into industrial workers in the future.
Plus, how to be a part of the blockchain boom. Saturday on CNA.
Here in Thailand is the production plant of Xeon, a chemical manufacturer that produces a variety of material. Our products are based on this outstanding rubber compound technology, becoming material for various products, including automotive parts. In this way, these products produced in Thailand are delivered to around the world through our supply staff.
From Thailand to the world!
This segment is brought to you by Xeon Corporation.
In Business Tonight, the cost of food is at its highest level since 2014. Among the big movers, global beef prices, which has risen 19% in the first 4 months of this year. The bad news is red meat is set to get even more